You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Right, Chris.
All right, how the devil are we? Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning, good night, goodbye. Hello. This is LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favourite podcast platform, you are most welcome. If you are watching live, please join in with the show by adding your comments to the stream. Or if you're watching on catch-up on YouTube, you can add your comments below. All we ask is that you do keep them respectful and clean. And of course, you can follow us on all our social media accounts, which are shown below there. Most of them are down as LTID TV. Some of them, though, are still Leicester Till I Die, but the majority are LTID TV. So, but if you type in Leicester Till I Die, it will bring them up. If this is your first show, you're new, please do subscribe. And if you are already a subscriber, and with these sort of shows, we do obviously make them subscribers only. If you want to comment, but please smash the likes. I do go on and on about how much it helps the channel, but it really, really does. So, welcome to this morning's show. This morning, eh? Are you okay? Okay. Daniel, good morning. He says, let's go. James is in. Good morning, Chris. I might upset James because he's Scottish here, so I might be upsetting James by the end of the show. So, James, you know what these shows are like, so please bear with me. And Daniel, hi Daniel, how the devil are you? Okay, so it's all about, well, not Brendan exactly, because of course, if this was about Brendan, I'd have to be saying
Bell end.
But I'm not. But an honorary addition to the Bell End, or the Leicester Till I Die Bell End Academy, is Mr. John Collins. Now, let me tell you, when it comes to Scottish football, there are a lot of people who think Scottish football and the Scottish Premier League is actually good. These people are called Scots. Because once you get outside of that, there's nobody looks at the Scottish Premier League and goes, "Ooh, isn't that good?" I mean, you look at the top, I think it's 5, is it, leagues in Europe? You've got the Premier League, you've got the Bundesliga, you've got Ligue 1, you've got the French League, the Spanish League, that's 5. And then it is recognised that the 6th biggest one is the English Championship. Now, top 6, no sign of the Scottish Premier League there. So, yeah, the people that think that Scottish football is good, they are called Scots. You could also call them disillusional. There are a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons to rebuild Hadrian's Wall and give Scots their independence. Now, most of these are called Nicola Sturgeon, the Poison Dwarf, Little Jimmy Cranky, whatever you want to call her. Then there is the honorary Scotsman, although technically he's English, but I think he's an honorary Scotsman, of course, Chris Sutton. Now there is the player that is, well, the ex-player that is called John Collins. Now, don't get me wrong, he has had a very good career, but he has come out with this comment. And I will just bring it up there. There we go. So he has come out with this comment. Brendan Rodgers was better than Leicester City, according to former Celtic. Well, I've said Waterboy there. That seems to be what he's doing. John Collins. Now, he's assistant manager at this club, allegedly. Whether he will still be assistant manager or not under Rodgers, who knows? But we'll go through exactly what he said. But Brendan Rodgers was better than Leicester City. Really? I mean, in fairness to John Collins, and I'm gonna sort of be a little bit fair to him here. He had 555 professional games. He played for Hibs, he played for Celtic, he played for Monaco, he played for Everton, James again, and he played for Fulham. So you've got to say, he played his football at decent standards. We're not talking, some Swiss third-tier team or something like that. 221 games for Celtic, 163 for Hibs, 53 Monaco, 53 as it happens Everton, and 65 Fulham. He also played 58 games for Scotland. Now his managerial career, and this is where obviously John Collins is an expert. He is an expert in what makes a good manager, because he has been a manager at Hibernian. He was there for one season. He was manager of Charleroi in France. Or Charleroi. He was there for one season. He was director of football at Livingston. Good morning, Doug. For one season. And he's been assistant manager at Celtic for 2 seasons, because, of course, Ange was there. I'm not even going to attempt his surname, and Ange is obviously his first name, and he was his assistant manager. Not sure who this is, but Facebook user said, he infuriates me. Why don't he just become a comedian? He clearly knew what he was doing. It's a shame. I can't think of 10 million reasons why not one Premier League took him on. That's one. Let's have a look in fair. Let's have a look what Chris Sutton said first of all, shall we? Because there we go. Brendan Rodgers better than Leicester City as Celtic hero dishes out brutal insult. Brendan Rodgers was better than Leicester City according to former Celtic ace, it says here, more like a joker, I think, John Collins. Rodgers has returned to Celtic for a second spell in charge following his departure from Leicester in April. He had left the Scottish club to take charge of the Foxes in February 2019. Rodgers famously led Leicester to their first FA Cup triumph in 2021, Rodgers and of course VAR, as they beat Chelsea at Wembley. He also guided them to successive fifth-place finishes in the Premier League in his first 2 seasons in charge at the King Power Stadium. And in fairness, yes, he did twice fifth, and we would have been happy with that, would we not? Leicester City getting 5th place in the top 6 for 2 seasons of Europa League football. Fair play to the guy. On the flip side, he also failed to keep us in the top 4. That each season, both of those 2 seasons, we were in the top 4 for 37 odd weeks. Yes. Every cloud, as they say, has 2 linings. But his City record was tainted during his last season, which ultimately ended with relegation to the Championship. And it is Rodgers' relegation, but John Collins overlooks that. Is it John Collins or Joan Collins? Both of them, to be honest with you. Speaking about Rodgers' return to Celtic on Radio Scotland, Collins said, I think it was a straightforward appointment from a Celtic board point of view. Brendan Rodgers is out of contract. There's no compensation. He's been at the club before. He's won trebles. He's played entertaining football. When the fuck did he play entertaining football? I mean, maybe for the first, 9 games when he came in that season? But then again, look, you could go and watch Dagenham under 13's Sunday League, and it would be entertaining compared to what we were watching under 12, or Rodgers Mark 1, of course. A wonderful communicator, he says. This guy couldn't communicate with a baby. Good communicator. Next question, please. Yes, yeah. Well, I couldn't understand a bloody word he was saying. And his good communication, I mean, hello, so welcome to the Leicester City Managers Press Conference. My name is Brendan Rodgers, and I am very, very happy to be here and take your questions. I mean, the guy, his press conferences sent you to sleep, let alone anybody else, any of his football. His press conferences alone did. Apparently, he ticks every single box in one multiple choice question. The only thing that could be questioned is how he left and when he left, but that happened. If you ask the majority of Celtic supporters, did they enjoy watching Brendan Rodgers' team and enjoy them picking up trophy after trophy? They would say yes. I'm a huge admirer. Excuse me, just getting an extra card here. I'm a huge admirer, he says, of Brendan. He's a top quality manager. Is he fuck? He was a failure at Liverpool. Ultimately was a failure at Leicester. Yes, let's say he won us the FA Cup and he will go down as a good manager for that. But this fantastic coach that could bring the youngsters through, bollocks. Did he improve Kieran Dewsbury Hall? No. Did he improve Harvey Barnes? No. Did he improve Luke Thomas? No. He brought them to a level and then he stopped. He couldn't improve them. So no, he wasn't this fantastic coach. So where are all these boxes that he's ticking? I am disappointed when he left Celtic, says John Collins, and my opinion is that he left at the wrong time. My opinion, he's got lots of opinions, is that he was better than Leicester City Football Club. He was better than Leicester City Football Club. What? By managing in Scotland. Scotland, sorry to any Scots that are watching this, but Scottish Premier League, Premiership, I think it's called, is no better than League Two. Simple. It is not. You've got Celtic, you've got Rangers. Even the clubs from the capital, Hearts and Hibernian, are not that good. They are League Two standard clubs at best, playing in the Scottish Premiership. This is Brendan Rodgers' level. So he won so many things at Celtic. Oh my God. The 10 in a row, that wasn't all him. He didn't win the previous 9. He'd won the previous 2. And let's just have a look at this, shall we? There are two teams. There are two teams in the Scottish Premier League that stand out. We know Celtic and Rangers. Brendan Rodgers was manager from May 1916 to February 2016. 1916, he looks older than he is. Brendan Rodgers was manager of Celtic. I can't read my own notes there. From 2016 to February 2019. Before Brendan Rodgers joined Celtic, Rangers in 2012-13 were playing in the Scottish Third Division. Now, the Scottish Third Division is probably like home counties Division 1 North. 13 to 14, they were in the second. 14 to 15, they were in the Championship. And they're also in the Championship in 15-16 when they got promoted. And let's be honest with you, you've got a club here that's come up from the third tier, which is the fourth tier, the third division, up to the top division. They'd lost all their players because all their players left when they went into administration and got relegated. And you could understand that. I'm not blaming the players. Would you want to play for your club if they'd been demoted from the Premier League to League Two? No, you wouldn't. So when they were actually promoted, they were still struggling. They brought Steven Gerrard in. They hadn't got particularly good players at that time. They'd got players, yes, that had won the Scottish Championship, but like I said, sorry, Anthony, no, that it's not. But we'll come on to that later. Well, we'll come back to your comments at the end. So they were playing a team. Celtic were there. So can you imagine this season if Manchester City had been demoted because of their fair play breaches? They'd been demoted to League Two 4 years ago. All their star players had left. They'd come back and they had got themselves into the Premier League. Would Arsenal have won the Premier League this season? You never know, but I would have put my mortgage on the fact that yes, they would, because they are in. City would still be in such a mess. So Brendan Rodgers, this messiah, not only was there not two clubs in the Premier League at that time that were of any decent standard, Rangers could only finish third that first season. Celtic were the only club. Now, I've joked about this many times. Celtic could appoint me as their manager and we could go out and beat most of those teams in that division in the Scottish Premiership. They could appoint Alan Pardew. They could appoint my mother, and she's dead, and she would win things in that Premier League. That's how awful it is. How many English managers do you see that are in their jobs and thinking, oh, do you know what? I'd really love to go and play in the Scottish Premier League. Or sorry, manage in the proper Scottish Premier League. You know what? I'm fed up with the English Premiership. I want to manage a top Scottish football side in the Scottish Premiership, said no manager of any English Premier League side ever. It's all one-way traffic. Let's go back to Jock Wallace, and that he was at Rangers. I believe they'll actually have won more Premier Leagues than Celtic. I could be wrong on that point. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. But Jock Wallace was manager of Rangers. I think he'd just done 9 in a row or something like that. He left Glasgow Rangers, one of the 2 top clubs. Martin O'Neill was out of a job. In fairness, James. No, in fairness, actually, James, in fairness, you're quite right. You're quite right. Martin O'Neill did leave Leicester to go to Celtic, but it was his boyhood club. Martin O'Neill has also come out. This is Martin O'Neill this week, has come out and said on TalkSport and he obviously is Brendan Rodgers' fellow countryman. Martin O'Neill has admitted that a return to Celtic would not have appealed to him. Would not have appealed to Martin O'Neill, whose boyhood club was Celtic. He would not have wanted to go back. But yeah, James, you're quite right, and I had forgotten Martin O'Neill did go to Celtic. It was his boyhood club. Jock Wallace came down to a second-tier English football, a club that was in what was then the second division. So he left the Scottish Giants to come to second division team. But Brendan's left. Ange, whatever he's called, has left. Neither of them couldn't wait to leave Celtic. What does that say? It's Celtic. And you're looking at Tottenham Hotspur, a club that Jose Mourinho, Conte, these top managers could not succeed. And yet, it's a mess, Tottenham. And yet, Ange has looked at it and gone, fancy that over Celtic. Can you blame him? Can you blame him? So let's get this right, John Collins. Brendan Rodgers is not better. Brendan Rodgers sulked off to the backwaters that is the Scottish Premiership when Liverpool sacked him. Brendan Rodgers has sulked off to the backwater that is Scottish football when Leicester have sacked him. Celtic just seem to pick up the shit that other clubs don't want. And it just shows that if you were a failure at English football in the English Premier League, you could be a success in Scotland. But let's be honest, only at 2 clubs in Scotland, because the others are not even worth talking about. Let's just have a look at some of your comments here. And I'll go back and catch up on these. Randy says, no credible manager leaves the Premier League and returns to Scotland. It is only after he had and the only job which would feed his ego with unearned trophies. That's exactly it. That's the only reason you go to Celtic or Rangers, because you know you're guaranteed to win things. James Dunlop, who is Scottish in fairness, Everton fan. John Collins, another one, decent player back in the day. And as I said at the start, I very, very good player credentials. Absolutely not questioning his player credentials at all. His manager credentials, less so. But as you say, his managerial record, short and average. For me, he's talking out of his arse on Rodgers. Thank you. I do agree. Anthony's in. Hi, Chris. Yeah, Brendan, after a couple of our rejects. Yeah, well, now he's coming out with all the excuses about, well, he wanted to take McGregor to Leicester, but he couldn't because of Arsenal or something. Oh, all these excuses now as to why he couldn't do this at Leicester, why he couldn't do that. It's your ability. It's your ability. Apparently, I have heard that Aviva buses are due to sell their franchise in Glasgow because they can't afford the insurance because of what it cost them in Leicester, because Brendan Rodgers used to throw all his players under the bus and it was costing them a fortune in insurance. So they pulled out of Scotland in advance. Randy says, no credible manager leaves the Premier League. That was a repost. It doesn't matter how big a star you are. If you're a player or a manager, no one is bigger than the club. It is true. The Scottish Prem is the same as our Championship. Now, I don't even think it's that good. When you look at the quality, because I'm not going to say that Leicester are going to get promoted. I don't think we will get promoted this season. And I'd sooner not get promoted. I'd sooner not do a Norwich and go up and then come straight back down. I'd sooner spend maybe wait until the season after when we've got a bit more settled squad. Enzo's been able to sort of get his ideas across a bit longer. I don't think we'll come back up. The Scottish, it is said, and the Championship is the 6th strongest league in European football. Not the Scottish Premier League. The Scottish Premier League, you'll find it somewhere down the lines with Sweden and Norway and Liechtenstein. It is the League 2 standard, the Scottish Premier League. League 2 standard. The last time a side other than Celtic and Rangers won the SPL was Aberdeen. Was that happened to be under Sir Alex Ferguson, who couldn't wait to leave the successful Aberdeen? I think he won a European trophy with them as well, but couldn't wait to hightail it down to manage Manchester United. Since in the 84-85, wow, since then it's been nothing but Celtic and Rangers. I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Chris. James, do you know who's won the more in history? Titles, Rangers or Celtic? You should have. Well, you would have done. You would have done if that had been the case. I think with Manchester City, as I explained. Yeah, and James, like I said earlier, you made the point, and I agree with you. I did have to concede that Martin O'Neill did leave, but it was his boyhood club. Is for managers that could only win things if they manage Celtic or Rangers to get a good CV. Indeed. I mean, you know, where were the clubs? It was a bit like Yuri Tielemans. Yuri Tielemans wanted to leave Leicester to play for a Champions League club. Yeah, Aston Villa. No disrespect to Aston Villa. Under Unai Emery, they've been brilliant. But where were those Barcelona's, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich's? Where were they beating a door down, beating a path to his door to try and get in and sign him? They weren't. Where were all these top? I mean, Tottenham allegedly looked at him again, Rodgers, and walked away. Where were all these top English clubs? He was being linked with them when he was winning. And all the Liverpool fans said, give it 3 seasons. My God, were they right. Maybe that's why he left Celtic when he did after 3 seasons, because he knew what was coming. The Scottish League is a mess, but I think some of the lesser teams are slightly better than League 2. I don't. Some of the teams like Hearts maybe. Remember when we had Levine a lot? Oh, God, don't. Do not, James, naughty step. I actually met Craig Levine. My son was mascot for Leicester away at Burnley when Craig Levine was manager. And as all these managers are, outside of football, they are nicest people. And look, I get what John says, what Chris Sutton said, what I'm saying here. We're playing to our fan base. We're playing up to the cameras. But when you meet these people off air, and I'm sure Nigel Pearson, what a lovely guy. Martin Allen, lovely guy. Both of them made my son's day when we went to watch them and met them. Interesting the assistant has not gone to Celtic with him. That's Craig Shakespeare. Kind of hoping he was going to come into Leicester, to be honest with you. All right, here we go, James. Thank you very much. Rangers are the most 55, Celtic 53. Ooh, yeah. So Rangers are the bigger club. All I will say is managers come, managers go. Managers are only as good as their last season. Ranieri, love him to bits. I'd bend over and have his children if he walked in now. Well, maybe not. But you know what I'm saying. But he had to go because of where we were. Brendan, yeah, he won us the FA Cup, but he had to go because he was getting us relegated. And that is on his CV, not on Dean Smith's. That is on Brendan Rodgers' CV. He's taken a club from a top 5 to a... And all this, well, you know, he didn't have the money to spend. Well, he's a coach. If he's a coach, get the best out of what was there. He turned players that had won the FA Cup into players that couldn't stay in the Premier League. But anyway, John, you're talking out your arse, mate. You are totally and utterly talking out of your arse. Go back to carrying the goalposts at Celtic. because that appears to be the only thing that you are good for. Look, thanks to everybody for tuning in. It was just a quick rant, as the live pitch shows are. We will be back on Tuesday, when we'll be having a chat with Ben Jacobs from CBS. He's a huge Leicester fan. He works for CBS Sports and covers English football. So we'll be talking with him on Tuesday at 8 o'clock about people that might be coming in, people that might be going out, rumours that he's heard, etc. Thank you to everybody that's watched and joined in the comments. Like I say, if you're joining in late, you can still add the comments on the YouTube in the descriptions below. Thank you to all our members as well. They are now running across the bottom. You can become a member for just $1.99. There's a button below on YouTube that you can press to become a member, where you can see all the benefits. If a member wants to come on a show at any time, all you've got to do is message me. You get priority, discount on after qualifying period on merchandise, personalised quizzes, etc., etc. So you can find out everything that's included by clicking on that button below on YouTube. And also, thank you to the mods that were in looking after the chat as well. James, thank you very much there. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click that notification bell. We really, really, really do appreciate it. It does keep the channel going and helps us to grow as well. But look, this has been LTID TV. I've been Chris. I'll be back, just like this person.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.